Patients, we were just finishing up with the workshop. So I want to bring this meeting to order. It is the regular meeting and public hearing of the city council of the city of Nassau Bay to be held this Monday, January 9th at, it looks like 7:07 p.m. in council chambers, City Hall, 1800 Space Park Drive, Suite 200, Nassau Bay, Texas. So I call the meeting to order. A roll call, just like earlier, all are present except for Don Matter. And from that standpoint, we can move forward. I'd like to ask Paul of the invocation. And pledge allegiance.
My pleasure to do the invocation tonight. Thank you, Mayor. Sophie Ballard. Dear Lord, thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed on the city of Nassau Bay. We're privileged to live in the greatest country in the world, the greatest state in that country, and the greatest city in the state of Texas. We stand before you tonight in awe of your power, and especially ask for your grace as we strive to do what is best for the residents at Nassau Bay. I ask for your continued grace for our shortcomings and blessings on this wonderful city as we move into the new year. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. We'll do the presentation of the college.
Standard guard, forward, march. Standard guard, off. About face. Ladies and gentlemen, you can lower your salute while we do the flag. Ladies and gentlemen, in my mind, just one point. We pay attention to the flag of our beloved country. It is always displayed in the east of every assembly where it is accorded the position of highest honor. It is a constant inspiration to every lover of his country. It demands unswerving loyalty and wholehearted devotion to the principles of which it is the glorious representative. It is a majestic symbol of freedom and constitutional and constitutional government. Beneath its protecting poles, liberty, equality, and fraternity have become the heritage of every citizen. While the oppressed of many nations have found peace and happiness in the land of which it flows. The flags of mighty empires have come and gone, so our destruction remains. Alone of all flags, it expresses the sovereignty of the people, which endures when all else passes away. Speaking with a voice that has the sanctity of revelation. He who lives under it is loyal to truth and justice everywhere. So long as it flies, government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. Please resume your salute for the posting of the colors. Standard guard about face. Standard guard, return the flags to their positions in the east. Sir Knights present swords. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. Allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Carry sword about face. I would like to thank the city council for allowing us to do this. We enjoy doing this every January to start off the new year. I'd like to present the officers who have come out this evening to assist. On my right and your left, starting on the end, is Sir Knight Edward Peebles. He was past commander of Park Place Commander number one. Nope, is that? Nope, I'm sorry. That is Sir Knight J. Don Little. Who is also. I couldn't see because of the fuzzy hair. That's my one. And next to him is Sir Knight Jack Peebles, a past commander of Park Place Commander. And his son, Sir Knight Edward Peebles, who is also past commander of Park Place Commander. And on the end, Sir Knight Chris Luttle, who's also past commander of Park Place Commander number 106, and is the eminent Grand Sentinel for the Grand Commander of Knights Templar, Texas. And I'm Henry Hughes, and I'm past commander of Park Place Commander 106. Thank you.
Thank you. Of the Park Place Commentary 106, just to give people a little bit of a background on your organization.
Okay. The Knights Templar Commandery is a Christian organization rooted in the Masonic fraternity. It has three charities that it supports: the Knight Templar Eye Foundation, the Knight Templar Education Program, and the Knight Templar Holy Land Pilgrimage. The Knight Templar Eye Foundation is an organization that solicits donations for research diseases of the eyes. The education program funds $1,000 scholarships for people who are in college or in trade school. And the Holy Land Pilgrimage is a program where a community will raise $3,500, and that funds are matched by the Grand Commandery to send a clergy to the Holy Land for a 3-week intensive work study program. Walk the path where Jesus walked. Thank you. Thank you. Tonight, board march.
So the next one, and I always love doing these because I get to have a big check and I do mean just eyes. But presentation of a check to Clear Creek Environmental Foundation. I think actually you're doing this, and Jim Stowe I'd like to bring up again. Unless there's somebody else here, I don't think there are. Hey, come on up. So you may want to make a couple of comments about the CCI.
Well, if you're going to look along the creek, start back in the, a wonderful job over in the creek, and the is over all the way back in the Lake City, and the little fraction picked up every year, just amazing. The tree gardens were full, and they work long weekends for a whole month, and then it's great to have.
Which is February 11th at 8 o'clock in the morning, correct?
Okay.
Is what I
Yes. So just to say it again, I believe it's February 11th at 8 o'clock. We are live streaming here. Let's buy it all.
Yes, it's a breakfast and lunch. I also understand it's a part of the Moon Tree adventure too. So there's a whole day. But it's $2,000 to help do that. So I know here and I want to say Mark Denman's been a part of this too. He was going to be here to accept. And he asked Ashley to accept that. So here's $2,000 of a little food for this. Thanks.
Mayor, I might add, we're very grateful to Clear Creek Education Foundation for bringing their boats around. That's what they're most famous for. And having partnered with the Parks Committee for many years now to make sure that our peninsula cleanup is fully clean all the way out to the water. I know they've been able to. Right. Grab some massive things off the peninsula that we just couldn't get with our volunteers. So it's been a great partnership.
And one thing, about a couple of years ago, got floating dock.
Yeah.
The Lloyd Mountain was pointing it out to me, and then really that's the case.
There we go. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So this is also a time, I want to take a little liberty here because I've had a number of people ask me, I think, many people, I know everybody here on council, and a lot of people out in the audience knows that Don Matter is, had surgery today, and, actually, a 4-hour surgery to do to help in his health situation. And, I can tell you that the texts that I've gotten from the family says that the actual surgery went extremely well. They're expecting him to come out of his anesthesia and things like that, literally right about now. So they'll know specifically how well, but the doctor said it went textbook, and he was an excellent patient, and it looked like the procedure went just as they planned. So optimism is high. So for everybody, keep Don in your prayers, and we'll know more tomorrow, but it looks like it went well for all those who have. We don't have a public hearing or any action items, so moving to that, I want to move into the citizens request for a public citizen request for City Council. Again, these are people who are residents of the city, so please come up, and your time is limited to 3 minutes. Anybody who wants to come up? Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mae Jones, and I want to make this statement in front of my neighbors. And first and foremost, let you all know that I'm fully committed to the repair and full renovation of my property. And I have been actively engaged and invested resources, funds, and substantial amounts of my time to this end, including significant funds, even in the attempt to just be allowed by the Nassau Bay City officials to repair the home. And I'm referring to the house at 18410 Kingstown Court. My team of building professionals and I have been and continue to be ready, willing, and absolutely able to complete the repairs to this historical home in compliance with City of Nassau Bay published code, in full compliance with FEMA regulations and guidelines, and meeting the international building standards referenced by Nassau Bay Code. And through my general contractor architect, myself, I have repeatedly communicated such readiness and capabilities to the city. Indeed, the agreement that you, the city council, signed on December 12th, taking action to authorize the city manager to sign an agreement subject to the review and approval by the mayor between the city of Nassau Bay and myself, was one such agreement, which was then subsequently radically changed by the mayor and the city manager's modifications of the scope. While tonight's meeting agenda is listed in the city's website, there's an update to the property. And I thought it was important for me to bring in some of the narrative of what actually is going on. These are verifiable facts. The house was continually occupied from the time I moved in 1987 through 2019. Due to the pandemic, renovations did not start until early 2021. And we kept everyone abreast of the progress that was going on. I voluntarily and independently hired professional licensed structural engineers and architects from the very beginning of the project. The house was cleared, the interior was stripped of drywall and fixtures in multiple areas as part of the initial renovation process. A temporary roof tarp was obtained and installed by a roofing company in December 2021 after months of waiting for material. The house is less than a 2,500 square foot, single-story, single-family, flat roof, mid-century residence, and it was to be repaired with very few architectural modifications. My licensed general contractor has built many high-quality single-family houses throughout the Houston Metroplex, submitted a repair permit to the city on June 2nd, 2022, with architectural and structural engineering plans prepared and sealed by a licensed architect and structural engineer respectively. It was accompanied by a line item budget compliant with FEMA guidelines below the 50% substantial improvement cost rule. As of a July 7th meeting between Nassau Bay City officials and my lawyer, architect, and builder was organized and held to address any of the city's concerns and to allow me to repair the house. The meeting included full disclosure of the cost, the approach to repairing the house, the builder shared with the city officials copies of the line item breakdown.
No, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, and we had put in an entirely new TPO roof, which was based on that agreement, which was then told that we could not complete it. The builder completed it. The roofing subcontractor was told that they could then not put in skylights, put in replacement, or put in old skylights. Where we are right now then is where I have been in good faith, what I consider good faith negotiations with the city after another meeting, and that agreement that you signed was then changed radically, like doing things including putting in completely new windows throughout the entire house. Those agreements are a concern. I want to be able to come down to Nassau Bay as a retreat and live in my house and take part in it. And if you don't want me here, if there's some issue, because I'm being made to feel like I don't belong here, but I do want to be a part of this community, and we are ready and able to build a house.
Anybody else?
Good evening, I'm Nancy Lynn, 2445 Baker's Drive. I just want to say thank you to Mayor and council for buying all the plants. I know we were a bit in jeopardy a couple of weeks ago, but I have to say there's a very small committee that went around and tried to push mulch up against all the plants, the new plants, to try to save them, and Public Works was great about being sure all the plants were watered in as much as possible prior to that big freeze. But the cities are beautiful, and it will. I think all the things will come back out. But we want to thank you very much. Michelle Weller headed this up. We really appreciate all of her efforts. I mean, she's a go-getter. And we, it's a good group of people, but it's neat because it's all different citizens, not just Garden Club offered from this, but many different people. It's been wonderful meeting all the people in the city that are, very anxious and appreciative for your efforts. So thank you.
Sarah Plunk, 18639 Princewood Lane. I just really quickly wanted to touch on something that was mentioned at the last meeting. I know that you guys were talking about maybe turning off commenting on the live streaming and things like that. And I would just ask that if you consider turning off comments on the public posts, that you reconsider bringing back letting citizens submit comments before the meeting so that they could at least be heard there. Because I just think it's really important to get everybody involved. Not everybody can come to the meetings and that sort of thing. So if commenting does end up being turned off, then bringing that back, I think would help more voices being heard in the community. Thanks.
Sir, just I'll comment on that. Just in that discussion, it wasn't that there would be an elimination of comments. It would make it similar to like here where there'd be citizens opportunity. So there would always be a situation where there were comments.
Well, but like on Facebook, like where people are watching it.
It would just be during a certain period. It's just like now.
Oh,
when
like
we're-
not letting them comment after the meeting was over?
So once we go into deliberations, it's a council discussion. So that was there. That was,
Right. Oh, okay. I thought you were just talking about taking comments on it in general.
no,
The post.
no, that's why I wanted to make mention.
Oh, okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
good. Thanks. I still really, really found it useful to be able to submit a comment beforehand to be read aloud, but maybe consider it.
My name is Daniel Edmonds. I'm an attorney representing Dr. May Jensen. I'm gonna follow up on what she was saying. I find it sad that she has to stand up here and say that she doesn't feel like she's a part of the community. As the city councilman, tells her agreement to fill us up regarding the renovation of a historic home to astronauts in the home of astronauts. So I'm going to finish the statement that Dr. Jemison wasn't able to finish regarding pronoun. Dr. Jemison met in what she hoped to be, in good faith, in what she hoped to be a productive meeting on October 6th. The mayor, several council members, the attorneys for the city met, the building official was there, they approved the scope of work to allow Dr. Jemison to finally begin working on her house. That was over 3 months ago. On December 12th, this council approved that agreement, subject to review by the mayor. And the document in that agreement was signed by Dr. Jemison, waiting to be able to start working on her home. That agreement was radically changed to a point where it resembled nothing as what that meeting produced on October 6th, which was over 3 months ago. Dr. Jemison is ready, willing, and able to begin those repairs. The permits have been requested on June 2nd of 2022, last year. When it comes time to renovate your home, I hope that the city council does not make it the regular, put it on the agenda and have a regular city council meeting to discuss the renovation of the building. I hope the mayor doesn't communize what he thinks should be, your home should look like, ask for neighbor input on what he thinks they would like to see your landscaping look like. I hope that when it's time to renovate your home, that the people's state of Nassau Bay is restored to a free city where you can choose what to do with your property, subject to, of course, the compliance with building codes, which her plans do. I hope that the city council city council and the mayor doesn't meddle in your home renovation when it comes time to renovate your home. I hope that it doesn't take 3 different attorneys' offices, 9+ months and thousands of dollars just to get the right to start to work on your home. I hope that whenever you move to renovate your home, that you're met with far less resistance, delay, and quite frankly, I don't know what has been going on to stop this permit of the many others that are requested in the city to still renovate homes. So I would just like to say that I got 15 seconds left. I would just like to say that in the home of astronauts, we have an astronaut up here who doesn't feel well and who has not been permitted to begin work on her home. We're restoring it to become a vibrant member of this community. And I hope that you'll voice to the council and to the mayor to allow Dr. Jemison to begin working on her home.
Thank you. Anybody else? Brian?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, my fellow residents, Happy New Year. First off, let me thank you guys for letting us get this joint meeting earlier. I think it was very productive going forward with live stream. For those of you who weren't here earlier, we had a joint live stream council meeting there. Anyways, there were some comments made during last month's council meeting regarding live streaming at the end of the meeting there. I feel that do need addressing. There was a concern regarding anonymous comments, in particular on Facebook during the live streaming events. Anonymity is protected under the First Amendment. To quote the late Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, when he wrote the majority opinion in McIntyre v. Ohio Elections Commission in '95, quote, anonymity is a shield from the tyranny of the majority. It thus exemplifies the purpose behind the Bill of Rights and of the First Amendment in particular, to protect unpopular individuals from retaliation and their ideas from suppression at the hand of an intolerant society. Now, in regards to the citizens' request for hearing, having a dedicated time during public comment and only being able to comment at a certain time on Facebook itself, keep in mind that Packingham v. North Carolina in 2017, Supreme Court in a unanimous decision through the opinion written by Justice Anthony Kennedy, likened the internet and in particular social media to the modern public square. And so any comments on a video broadcast of this council should be treated as though they are individuals speaking on the proverbial courthouse steps, regardless of time, regardless of how they had to occur in real time or after the fact. Restricting comments on social media, of course, while certain speech meets the legal threshold of hateful and threatening, can and should be addressed. Davison v. Randall, which was a Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that was never sent forward to the Supreme Court, states that government officials and government entities cannot block constituents on official government accounts. And taking it one step further, their own social media accounts used in an official capacity. And so the line to walk when dealing with comment restricting is very, very thin. Just make sure that we don't we don't go overboard when we do that. I appreciate your time and again, have a happy new year.
Brian, can you state your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. 1454 Dave Long.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Megan Montalvo of 18630 Martinique Drive. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the Nassau Bay Homes Association. I am the NBHA, one of the many homes association in our neighborhood, one of the largest and the largest. And I am the current president of the Nassau Bay Homes Association. And I was just hoping to take a moment, a very quick moment, to talk about what we do and have done, and invite everybody to join us on our January 17th meeting at 6 o'clock at the offices in the conference area in the front there. We would love to have you guys come out. So just really quickly, we manage the pool and the marina and a few other little things around the community. And we this summer replaced all of the pool equipment. So the pool is looking blue and beautiful. And so this past summer, we're hoping everybody will come out and enjoy that. And this month we are repairing the marina roof, which has been a huge project that has been a long time needed. And we finally reached the settlement with the insurance company. And so we will be replacing marina roof this month, thanks to a lot of work by our marina committee led by Omar Abatine. We are also looking, hopefully, budgeting for preparing for doing some work on that white wall that divides the residents from the commercial properties. It needs some love and a lot of work and effort. So that is an upcoming project that we really like to do something with. It's a big project. So I think other than that, I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to serve this community, and I know that our HOA board of trustees feels that way, and we have a lot of wonderful volunteers that I see your faces out there. And so thank you all, and hopefully you guys can come out and talk to us about what we do here. And I think that's everything. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Anybody else? Went once, twice, 3 times, and the screen is closed. Moving on to the council members' comments and reports. Lucy, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you for everyone who got up here and spoke tonight. I always like hearing what people, their concerns are, just express for hearing, so thank you for doing that. I'd like to point out that today is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So thank you, Chief Cromie. Thank you to all of your officers. I think you guys just make this such an outstanding community, and hopefully everyone shares that same appreciation for you guys. So I just wanted to point out that.
Ashley?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm so happy to see such a great turnout tonight. I know most of you want to be at home watching that TCU Georgia game, but you're here and not. So if you have any, forget that, right? I want to say thank you for council members for mentioning that about our law enforcement. I definitely agree with that. And I want to thank May for coming up and speaking. It was nice to hear you and what you had to say on that. And it was disheartening to hear that you don't feel welcome in this community, and I hope that does change. I've been looking forward to meeting you personally, so thank you for speaking your thoughts with us and sharing those with us today. I also want to pass on some information regarding the special events committee. This is something that I know many of you probably already know about. We have had a large portion of them choose to resign recently. I know it's going to be difficult to replace those. And I'm not going to speak on the decisions that were made or why they were made. But I do want to formally thank everybody on the special events committee, those that have recently chosen to resign and those that are still serving. That's a great committee. It matters greatly to our community. Again, it saddens me that some people don't feel that their volunteer efforts are being appreciated, and I certainly hope that we can reflect on that as a council and see what we can do to remedy that. But I do want to thank you to the SEC for everything they've done, for their creativity, for their energy, for their spirit. Volunteerism is truly the essence of Nassau Bay, and I hope that we can do a better job of throwing our volunteers for what they deserve. As far as Nassau Bay Nights, we are going to have our January Nassau Bay Nights, the last Thursday of the month. I think it's 29th. You'll have to check your calendars. This time it's going to be at Burritos, and I want to thank everybody that came out to 1,000-degree pizza in the storm. You guys are troopers for supporting local business, and again, I invite everyone up here with me tonight in an elected position to come and support local business with me on the last Thursday of the month with Nassau Bay Nights. A little what from Canby. We raised over $10,000, correct me if I'm wrong, audience members here, Jerry will know, with the last reindeer fund run. So thank you again for all those that participated. Thank you for those that came out just to support the event. Thank you to our sponsors. This is becoming something that we've been able to put back in the community since Methodist decided to relinquish the reins to us, and it's been a great fundraiser, and we look forward to continuing that for years to come. And I look forward to working with the city manager and Canby on the best way to spend those funds to continue to enhance our community. We still have the beautification award going on. I believe we just did the first quarter. So if you have a nominee for the second quarter beautification award, please let us know. Let Colleen Etheridge know in particular. And we'll keep that rolling, and I look forward to seeing more beautiful lawns out there. And lastly, to echo the mayor's comments, I certainly would like everyone to keep Mayor Pro Tem Matter in their thoughts and prayers tonight with him and his family. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue on some somber news, just inform my council members, unfortunately. It's 7 to 17, and it doesn't have a albeit there is hope. There is hope. We still have second half, so let's give it a one project. I want to say happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for coming out. It's great to see everyone out there, and I appreciate everyone coming out and speaking. Freedom of speech is very important for everybody, and it's very important to ensure that everyone has the right to speak and do that in the framework that's established by the people for the people. Particularly, I think that one of the important things here is that we allow people to come up and speak for their 3 minutes. We give them that courtesy of coming up and speaking, being a member of our community. I think it's very important that we convey that everyone's welcome to do that, as long as they're, of course, a resident or an attorney for a resident, or a business owner or attorney for a business owner. Take advantage of that. I do feel that within the context of social media, there's really no room in social media for things that we need to be presenting as a city and as a cohesive government. I don't see any reason why social media needs to be utilized. And I think everyone can see from the past between Twitter, Facebook, and others that my view is that if they acquire more, that I don't think the city needs to be going into. With that being said, I will state this. Thursday, 6 o'clock up here, we'll have the very first GIS task force meeting. And then from that, we'll be doing follow-on one about a week after that, about 26. So it'll be a secondary one. I look forward to those members that are on it coming up, and I wish everybody a happy, healthy, and productive New Year.
Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to again thank the live stream task force for this last hour before we met in city council open session. We had a wonderful workshop with them, and we'll be bringing wonderful things to the city residents regarding being able to be very transparent, a word that's overused so much now, but to bring every kind of communication we can to our city. I also want to echo what's been said about our Mayor Pro Tem, Don Matter. The surgery today was a very serious one, and we have received good reports, as the mayor said. It is the first of 2 surgeries. He is going to have a second surgery January 23rd. So please do keep him in your prayers. That man has given over 40 years of volunteerism to this city. So keep him in your prayers. An exciting thing is coming up, and I know Council Member Michelle Weller will speak to the wonderful things happening in February that has been a huge committee volunteer work done by many, many people. And I'm going to let her continue talking about moon trees.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'll have some more to say about that when I do the Parks and Recreation and the Palm Tree Committee updates. And as far as the Nassau Bay HOA and talking about the wall that you want to upgrade over there, we have a really big fired up volunteer base with the Parks and Recreation and the Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful Committee. A lot of people don't know that that's one committee together, and Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful pretty much covers the entire Nassau Bay, including helping you paint that wall if you'd like to. It's been on our list. Anything you guys want to do, I would love to work with you. And in our last fall sweep, as Nancy said, thank you, Nancy, for all the hard work. I see some of my other volunteers in here. They were out there on the weekend in the rain, in the dark, with their own hands digging, putting up, like she said, mulch. And they're really fired up to do. We would love to put some flowers in your flower beds that are part of the Nassau Bay HOA. I'd love to meet with you and go over that, how we could work together to go in that direction, since we're really big on this council for the beautification. So I wanted to say that, and I'm excited that you came up and gave an update. I want to echo everything on council, especially my prayers are with Don Matter as he goes to this full time. And I'll wait about the moon trees and everything else when I give my committee updates. Thank you.
To me, and I just want to echo something for the homeowners association. Paul McCarty, the city manager, and I have talked pretty extensively about how in looking at infrastructure and renovating and things along that line, that there's kind of a seamless transition between sometimes the homeowners association and the city. And we've dedicated quite a bit of funds that we would certainly like to join into a more of a partnership. That wall that's been, looks a whole lot better, but it's because there's like an absence of debt. Right.
Yes.
It looks better, but it needs help, and we'd like to talk about how we could do that. So that's, just take that and again, even with some of the beautification, we've set aside quite a bit of funds to be able to really reinvest into the city to bring back the beautification that we all remember and what we're doing. So with that, the other is I wanted to make mention of just how proud I am of our volunteers, whether it's the fire department, looking at the different committees. Again, it's amazing to me the situation we are where even as much as just even a year ago before we had our election, that I think really fired up people. We had the largest turnout for the number of candidates, the largest turnout for an election. And from that, there has been just a tremendous outpouring of volunteers. We have seats that on our committees now that have double-digit waiting lists for volunteers, and it really goes to show just how much people want to participate here. And I'm really excited about that. A lot of the work that's been done, and I appreciate the comments, please, both positive and negative, come my way in which for how we're trying to beautify the city, and I think we're seeing that. So from that standpoint, thank you all the volunteers for doing that. Thank you the special events committee. They do some great things, and so that I appreciate everything. Anybody who's served, I really do. And then lastly, I can't help but mention one of the greatest volunteer folks. It's the Garden Club. They just seem to keep participating as they go. And I know there's even some beautification that we're looking at on the north-south roads into the city that we're hoping to get some good coordination. So I appreciate that. And with that, I'll move on to the staff members and the community reports.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of employee shout outs. We've elected, city staff has voted on police officer of the year, employee of the year, and supervisor of the year before Christmas. And we had the honor, I had the honor of giving those awards out to those employees. Really top-notch people. We've got them all across every department. But the police officer of the year this year went to Perry Henderson. And he was voted by his peers for that. It's not, I didn't have a vote in that, the peers did. Employee of the year went to Ross Patrick. Everybody knows Ross, he's been here 30 years. He's just a great asset to our city. And then supervisor of the year appropriately went to J.R. Cruz. 45 years he's been with the city. And I think he's thinking about retiring. I don't know if he's going to or not, but he's thinking about it down the road. And so we're just excited about those three employees, and they were picked by the peers for those awards. Coffee with the mayor and the city manager is going to start back this week for the new year. We're going to have the mayor zooming in from somewhere out in the Netherlands somewhere. And on the 13th, on vacation, and he's going to be zoomed in for that. And then January 4th, January 27th. So it's going to be the second and the fourth Monday of Friday of every month. So just remember that going forward. And we're excited to get that kicked back off again. Want to remind everybody, City Hall offices are closed on Monday, January 16th, in observance of the Martin Luther King Day. So there'll be no activities going on in the city. And we've got elections coming up. I don't know if y'all noticed that or not, but May 6th is going to get here sooner than we think it will. And so the city will have its first reading tonight of the ordinance calling the May 6th council election. January 18th is the first day to pick up file for a place on the ballot. And anybody interested should see our city secretary, Sandra Hom, about picking up a packet. And then finally, we've got a lot of meetings, Mayor, this month.
We sure do.
I know you've seen that. I know council has. So we're hitting the ground running full speed ahead with all those meetings. So we'll be seeing a lot of this.
Thank you. Happy New Year, Mayor, Council, citizens. Thank you all for being here. Real quickly, our numbers, our stats for last month, December, 290 calls for service were answered, 38 reports, 140 traffic stops, resulted in 49 citations, 107 warnings, 2 code enforcement cases, 15 arrests. Those were all misdemeanors, no felony arrests. A total of 3,683 miles were driven last month in December. Real quickly, just a couple of recognitions. First one, Paul's already kind of trumped me on that with our officer of the year, Perry Henderson. Like you said, that's voted on by the other employees. So that's a remarkable award for the officers. Real quickly, some of the things that were noted in some of the nominations for Perry. Outgoing personality is in partnership with other employees and his desire to establish more crime-free community policing programs in the department. So congratulations to Perry. One more recognition is anniversary of Officer Angel Castillo on December 19th. He celebrated his 10-year anniversary, and that's a little bit of misnomer there with his 10-year anniversary of Nassau PD. Back early in his career, Angel was with us for about 4.5 years. He left and went to another police department, but he decided to return back to the department and the community that he loves working for. Angel has a total of more than 25 years in law enforcement. So thank you to Angel for his service here, and we enjoy having him on our night shift. That's all I have. Thank you.
Just real quick, Chief, I'm a trend kind of person, and I'm looking at these statistics from the 21st or the December of 2021 to December of 2022, and that trend looks distinguishingly downward in the number of events, number of arrests, things like that. That looks like you guys are doing a good job.
Don't say that too loud.
Thank you, but I don't do the horn enough. It's easy to look at just snapshots, and I like to look at trends. There's a very definitive trend on all 4 of the metrics.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, good evening, all happy New Year. So your volunteer fire department for the month of December ran 45 calls and our membership came to 37. That's an increase of one. We had one new prospective member join. And then we actually have another applicant that we have an offer out to. He could have joined us before the holidays. He was out of town, so we expect to see him hopefully on 38 next month. I don't have hours to report for the month of December because we don't have them all tabulated. That's an unexpected personal outages in December, but I'll get that for you as soon as I have it. With that 45 calls in December, that was our total year total at 417 calls, which is about the same as what we ran the previous year, from David's standpoint. But what we have noticed is an increase in types of calls. The majority of the calls that are running are what we call first responders, or that's assisting medical. So, on my personal cup of tea, that's what we're doing. Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Mayor, council, happy New Year. So this new dirt I hadn't overturned that I will. So Public Works was pretty busy for December. We had 8 water breaks and there were 8,818 feet of water line installed total for the project. 20,872 sanitary sewer lines installed. We had 3 major switchover in the city, and then we started our hydrostatic testing on 23 hydrants. So we started that. Sanitary sewer jetted at 1,700 feet. And the CIP street project, 30 areas, we had our pre-construction meeting this morning. We're expected to, for them to mobilize next Tuesday. And that's a $1.3 million project. It's 30 areas in the city, so we're pretty excited about that. Storm line installation did 130 feet of 18-inch pipe and did a full tree inspection on the palm trees. I did with the Moon Valley representative. We did a full assessment on the palm tree lights. That was 52 lights. And the street lights, we've been working on a weekly basis with CenterPoint, and we think that all the city is lit up except for the Barbuda area. We've got one light that needs to be repaired underground, so underneath the driveway. So all the street lights should be lit in the city. On the NASA one median end caps, we got about 75% of the dead bushes pulled. This week we'll be on the meter reads, and then the following week we should finish up that project. As soon as we finish that project up, we'll start looking at planting bushes. We're real excited on that. Did 8 new LED transition lights on the tennis courts. Street sweeping was conducted throughout the city, and then the Arctic blast blew in. That was from the 23rd to the 25th. And so we were pretty busy with that. Had some power outages, so we dealt with that. And then the Christmas, all the decorations in the park, at City Hall, and then the Civic Holiday in the park, boat parade and all that. And again, congratulations to JR Cruz and Ross Patrick, 2 troopers, good employees. So we're looking for a really good year.
Well, the only thing I have to say is, you know, the amount of work that your group is doing is being noticed by the citizens. I mean, we've got the largest infrastructure reinvestment going on right now, and then you're coming to the conclusion of one of the first of 5 phases, but now you're going into the streets. So I just want to relay that a lot of the citizens to see you guys at work, and they really appreciate the
The street project will be an 8-month project, and then we will start kicking off. We have around 18 to 20 CIP projects this year, so pretty busy. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go for the Parks and Recreation. Yeah, I want to thank the Public Works. Obviously, they helped us out a lot over the project that we had in the last couple of months. So, following up on the fall sweep, what Nancy Lynn talked about, we did give some plants for free because Moss Nursery was late on some other plants. And luckily we didn't plant those plants until after the freeze. So a lot of people came out and like Nancy said, volunteered. It was Royce came out, Laura Ford came out, Jill Abel, Jan Mayo. A lot of people came out and put up
mulch to keep the plants alive. They're looking pretty good, the ones we planted during fall sweep. And then we planted the rest of the fruit plants after the freeze was over. So that is actually exciting because we know in a couple of weeks, they're gonna start blooming out again. But the really big project coming up for the Parks and Recreation Committee is the Moon Tree Project. So if you probably been hearing me talk about this forever, and we're getting seeds from that went up on Apollo 14. And one of our own residents, Ed Mitchell, was on that mission. We're gonna bring those trees in, and we have 2 different days that we're gonna present them or plant them. And we're gonna have a whole program following that. On Friday, February the 10th, starting at 3 p.m., we're gonna have a program here, which is gonna include George Abbey's gonna be here and make a presentation, one of our own citizens. If you don't know who he is, you need to find out. And also the Moon Tree Foundation is gonna give us a film on Apollo 8, and we're gonna have James Spivey giving us an update on Artemis. After that, we're gonna adjourn. We're gonna plant the trees out here right outside City Hall. And we are going to afterwards have a little bit of a reception with some food outside next to the police monument. We'll put up a tent and have some nice food and drinks and some conversation out there. Then on Saturday, February the 11th, the Parks and Recreation Committee is going to help out with the Peninsula cleanup. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going to have breakfast, and then we'll go ahead and help with Peninsula cleanup. And then at 12 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and have lunch for the kids because they're going to start with a rocket launch with the Boy Scouts. They're going to launch their rockets to start off another like Moon Tree presentation for the planting of the moon trees that are going in David Braun Park. And also, we're going to have the same thing. George Abbey's going to be there. He's going to give us an Apollo 14 film. We'll have the president of the Moon Tree Foundation. And we are going to have a panel of speakers, you know, who can talk about various things on living in Nassau Bay and how Nassau Bay residents are tied into the space program. We also want to have some Nassau Bay Rocks activities. We're going to have a rock hunt. We're going to have a bounce house. We're going to have a dessert party for the kids. So Saturday is all about the kids. Make sure that you bring them. And pretty soon we'll release all the information about people, you know, wanting to RSVP if you want to help out or you want to be a volunteer on that day as well. So Moon Tree, we're super excited about it. We're going to put up banners up and down Nassau Road 1 where you see the Artemis signs. That's where we're going to put the Moon Tree signs. And February is going to be become the Moon Tree month in the city of Nassau Bay. Every year we hope to plant another tree in honor of an astronaut that lived in the city. And I do hope we can do one for you eventually, Dr. Jameson. Parks Committee, Swan Lagoon Playground, we met in December and we had 2 different options. One was a palm tree theme. It was a little bit more natural. And then the other one was a ship, which is a little bit more colorful and active. Those were the 2 options. We were trying to stick with, you know, sort of our beach and nautical theme that we have here. And what we're going to do at the next meeting is we're going to vote on which one of those and then put it out for bid and get that playground in place. The next thing about Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful has another project that we're doing, and Chase Waterwall is going to be in charge of that. We're going to have volunteers go and paint the numbers on the sidewalks because those have been looking kind of ratty and not everybody can afford to do it. And if they want us to, we will go ahead and have the city will pay for the paint. We will have volunteers actually put the numbers on for people if they want to have them. And that could help out with safety and all sorts of other things that make our neighborhoods a little bit more beautiful. So watch out for that. We're going to be putting out a letters on that and notifying people before we actually do it. So you'll know in advance and be coordinating with the Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful Committee. The baseball field is still in play. We're planning on doing that in spring. I have some meetings with a couple of construction, Little League field construction people in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. We're going to keep pursuing that. We also got some new water fountains. We're going to have the 3 water fountains that look like stone, the same like what we have now, but they're going to replace the broken water fountains that are in. There's 1 broken water fountain in Howard Ward Park, 1 in David Braun, and 1 in Swan Lagoon. Those will be replaced with new water fountains. And then we're going to get 2 additional water fountains, brand new. One's going to be down by the baseball field with a bottle filler and a little, you know, regular spout. And we want to put another one down by the end of the peninsula for people that are walking on the peninsula to come back and get some bottle refill on the water. The other thing that I wanted to say, I think that's it actually, because I already thanked everybody for helping us clean up those flowers and everything like that. That was pretty fun to get all the people together and we become like a little tight-knit group where everybody's calling each other, oh, the freeze is coming, let's get out there. And it was really fun. And people will stop by, just drive by and get out and start helping us. And I thought that was so Nassau Bay. So thank you. And that's the rest of my report. And I guess next is the Palm Tree Landscaping Committee. Okay, so to move on to that, Paul gave us a little update on the palm trees. He said that they were planning to open them sooner, but they kept them closed to see if it would help with the freeze. So I think this week, Paul said that they're going to go ahead and see if they're going to open it and give it the additional treatment that we had talked about that they give for a frost. So that is, we're looking forward to hearing more about that. The next big thing that we're going to present at the Palm Tree and Landscaping Committee, which is going to be at the end of January, is we have in the budget some money to replace the landscaping on San Sebastian Lane. I don't know if all of you remember that, where we had all that beautiful landscaping with crepe myrtles and all kinds of flowers. And we're going to have, Jan Mayo is going to bring in the original platting that was done with the help of the Garden Club, that we will use that same layout and maybe make a couple of modifications. So if anybody's interested in that and wants to hear about it, feel free to join the committee. It's on the 26th of January. Sorry,
I don't know off the top of my head.
yeah. It should be, is it listed on the webpage under agenda? Isn't it? So anyway, I hope you guys will join us for that because we're going to be talking about that. And then one other thing that we're going to be bringing up is talking more about the entrance pieces. We've been talking to an architect firm about what we could replace with that monument that's going to be there. It's January 24th, thank you, 6 o'clock here in City Hall. We're going to be talking about the entrance pieces. Again, we have an architect that we're hoping to bring in to give us a proposal about what could be the alternative that we would have that would make a better statement and be more along the lines of what we expect from Nassau Bay. So that's it for the Palm Tree and Landscaping Committee. A lot of exciting things, and thanks again to all the volunteers who've really been out there helping. It's been a lot of fun.
Just one question, Paul, did the folks at Moon Valley mention anything about the condition when they went out there and looked at those, the trees?
It was, from the bottom, it looked okay. The keeping them closed protected the grain of it. And so everything looked, from what they could see without getting on top, looked pretty good. The bottom, we watered a whole lot. That was one of the big recommendations. So they'll come back this week and do a copper sulfate on top and then fertilizing on the bottom. So that will keep any post trees.
And for people, the copper sulfate is meant to be a fungicide because I understand that's really how these trees die. It's not so much from the trees, but any ice that was in there gets caught up and it creates mold, fungus, things along that line.
Yeah, so the irrigation that we did was a deep water, so it kind of forms a kind of barrier around the hoop ball.
And just for the citizens too, is, one of the advantages of having the city manager and the mayor look at the contracts is that there were very significant protections that were put in place for the taxpayers' funds. Those trees have a warranty. And so if every one of them had been either caught a disease, or froze or whatever, 100% of them would be replaced at no cost to the citizens. And that's something that we negotiated that we can do every year in order to make sure that we keep the beautification that we know is Nassau Bay. So just want to reiterate that. So that was, I think, a good work on the committee and good work on the contracts. Thanks. Anything else? Then I want to move on to the consent agenda. The approval of minutes. These are the regular minutes from October 10th and November 21st, the special canvas meeting of November 21st, 2022. Any objection to doing the consent agenda for these items? No. And then I hear a motion.
Mayor, a motion that we approve the consent agenda, both for the regular meeting on October 10th, 2022, and a special canvas meeting on November 21st, 2022.
I second the motion.
Any other comments or questions? And then I call for the vote. All those in favor? It passes 6-0. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is old business, agenda item 10A. Receive an update from the city attorney regarding code enforcement items and actions necessary for the property located at 18 10 Kingstown Lane, Nassau Bay.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, personal matter, up until a couple of days ago, my hearing's been perfect, but I did experience a blockage in my right ear, and I'm getting a feedback, so if I have to ask you to repeat something tonight, it's because I've got a little ringing in my right ear. But I'm here, I've been here 50 years, and I expect to be here a lot longer. With regard to this matter, after the last meeting, we got an approval of the contract, for the signature of it, subject to the approval of the mayor. And the mayor had some changes that he had suggested, and, we sent those to the other attorney, not this attorney, Mr. Edmund. There's another attorney who I've been dealing with, and I sent those changes, around the 19th of December. I was out in West Texas over the holidays, called and I said, looks like we got a Christmas pause. Do you have any, response? And it was, well, it's being reviewed by our attorney out in California. And, I said, okay, we'll talk again. I sent 2 emails today, and I sent 2 texts today. I left a voicemail twice and 2 text messages saying, well, I've got a report tonight. Please get back with me. And I was met with this, but I feel like we all too have negotiated in good faith, and I don't think tonight was in good faith. As far as I'm concerned, negotiations have continued, have been reasonable. There's a counter here, and we've had some changes suggested by the mayor. We did not sign that agreement. We got approval to sign it, subject to the approval of the mayor. Even before he approved it, he came up with some slight changes, and they're negotiable. I thought we were doing. I would, but I like to finish.
Sure.
Okay. You know, it's a two-way street. This has been ongoing. This is the second contract we've had with Dr. Jennison. It's not the first time we've agreed to do something about this house. And the first one just fell on its face and didn't ever get done, so we did another one. And we're to the point now where we've negotiated in good faith. There are a lot of things about this house because of its age and condition that are different than the usual project, and so there's some changes that need to be brought up to speed, and that's, I think the mayor suggested those in good faith. That's where we are. We're willing and able and wanting to get it worked out just like you are, and it's not fair to come up here and say we haven't been fair, because we have been fair. That's my view.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few things here because, you know, there's a number of people here that are neighbors to this property that can attest to the fact that it's in really bad shape. And I think something that's being lost here, and I appreciate your comments, Dr. Jameson, but the reality is even your own architects and contractors just said it's an unsafe building that they sent to us. It's to me, I've been working very hard to try to save a historic property. But at the end of the day, there's more requirements than what was mentioned here by Jameson and her attorney, which is, you know, there are ordinances for the city of Nassau Bay. There are base flood elevation requirements that apply here that are being asked to be waived. And so from that standpoint, for us to consider that, you know, we wanted to make sure that this property was handled properly. And from that standpoint, I was pleased that we were able to move away from a public hearing along demolition of the property. And I thought we were on that path. You know, the discussions, you know, from October on were ones that was very clear that a lot of the external aspect of the property was communicated to the lawyers, and it's something that's very much on the minds of the adjacent property owners. And I have to say I represented them too, and they have been very vocal. I think they were very pleased with the proposal that was sent, that there was a beginning of making a bridge from the past to now, because at the end of the day, we have a property that is a property that was owned by Van Waltham Boone, and for it to be now without occupancy, with beams that are dilapidated, that we just cannot even occupy if the roof was in bad shape. It's just a travesty that we have such a historic home in such a poor situation. And I'm very much willing to work in any ways to bring it up to the standard that we all know. This is about property and property management, not about citizen. I hope you stay here in the city. I really do. I thought we were on that path. But at the same time, I promised the citizens that we would do the right thing by making sure that property was fixed properly. And I'm sure we're gonna be probably talking, but I am not gonna give up on those promises that I said to the people to make sure this property's done right. And it's been going on now for many years. I think it even started 10 years ago. So.
Correct.
So, in any event, that's the situation we're in, and I'm really sorry that we're hearing this. I thought we were much further along than that. And so from that standpoint, it raises other questions, and I'm sure we'll talk. So I appreciate you coming.
So we were very close to having it resolved. I thought we were. I know we still willing to do so. But you need to respond to the mayor's counter proposal before you sign. And I think we want to go.
I'm here, and the only thing that I would request is that you tell the truth and not say incorrect items. And that is the point. And I am here because I wanted the citizens of Nassau Bay to know that I'm working very hard, that I have done the structural reports, that we have done everything. That this agreement and what has been there, we were never asked for a waiver, Mayor Johnson, and you know that because you were in a meeting.
I disagree, and I want to just say here is
I have never asked for a waiver.
this is for deliberation stuff.
But I have never asked for a waiver, so I would prefer for you not to.
So let's be clear, so it is correct. The city of Nassau Bay has a base flood elevation plus 2-foot ordinance that we require in all systems. So that when your home is no longer occupied, or if it's or occupancy is pulled, that is a law of the city of Nassau Bay.
There is an exception, however, Mayor, for repairs that cost a certain amount of money, and that's, as long as they can stay within that guideline, we're okay.
My understanding is that if an occupancy has been pulled, they have to bring it up to code. And so from that standpoint, I was looking at how we might be able to move past that in order to do things, as long as the citizens had assurances that have been going on long-standing for this property. And we both know that to be true. And I was wanting to make sure that we were on that path so that the citizens who had to deal with their property adjacent, having to have the condition next to them for such a long period, that they would finally get addressed.
And the only thing I ask again is that you tell the truth in terms of stop work orders being put in, preventing us from doing anything else, other kinds of things that happen, which we will not litigate here.
I'm not going to get into
But
here
please do not tell
because there were permits that were violated. People were going up on a roof, their own architect said shouldn't be up there.
And that
A
is
building
incorrect.
inspector wouldn't even go up there because it was unsafe.
Mr. Mayor and our attorney, is it not incorrect to have this kind of dialogue going on? It needs to go on.
Her opportunity to speak was earlier, and I'm not
That's correct.
That's correct.
The,
And
that conversation between all of you needs to go
I think that's.
in another venue and another time.
There's a final place, it didn't.
So anything else that you have?
No, that's where we are. That's exactly where.
What about the citations?
There's no citations at this point. We pulled those, or we never even took them any further because we didn't have anything to go forward with. We don't have any citations pending. I don't intend to have any. There's no criminal action to take here. We're trying to get a contract worked out. I thought we were there, and here we are. But this is a surprise tonight, that's unfair.
So anyways, you've heard the update. I'm planning on moving on. The next is the update discussion and consideration of possible action on the city live and on-demand broadcast of city council meetings on the city website and social media channels, Nassau Bay Public Access Channel 16, and any and other media avenues deemed appropriate.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to thank, council and the live streaming task force for a meeting tonight prior to this meeting to discuss the options for a solution to us being able as a council and other committee meetings, live stream effectively with better equipment, better audio visual equipment, and better Zoom access, I would say, to something that's going to be a way for the future. And now that we've opened the store, it will be something that we will continue to see folks zooming in once we have a forum here. I'll just go over briefly the highlight of what we discussed in the workshop so we can keep moving on. When we met originally, we had a few goals in mind, and that was to kind of bring greater technology and better audio visual equipment into Nassau Bay. It's been a long time. We've updated some of our systems. And we do have a pretty good amount, I would say, I think it's around $58,000 of Comcast funds. And these funds are given to us, they've accumulated over the years. And we can use these for hardware and updating hardware equipment here in the council chamber, as long as we are streaming to public access channel 16. So one of the things we wanted to do is accomplish kind of moving into state-of-the-art technology. I would say a lot of councils for decades now have been live streaming their meetings and giving their citizens better access through different streaming venues and even their website to allow them to watch from the comfort of their home. And if COVID showed us anything, that's something that our citizens definitely want. We also wanted to lessen the burden on staff, setting all of these things up and making sure all the wires are plugged in and the Zoom access is there, and then the different streaming sources are being streamed to effectively. That takes a long time. And so we want to kind of make that a little more succinct and a little easier on staff and lessen the burden of hours that they have to work and work after hours when it comes to some of these committee meetings and these council meetings. We also wanted to make sure that we were effectively streaming to other sources, and people preferred watching on social media, or they preferred watching on the website, or they preferred, watching at home on channel 16, whatever you prefer. We want to make sure that we are exploring all the outlets so that we can reach as many of our citizens as possible. We've come up with two solutions that we feel that would be the best route to take. I want to thank Chief George for doing a tremendous amount of work and research on these two different solutions here, and I'm going to briefly go over each one. And I also want to thank a committee. I know Brian Brown's still here, Tara Pulliam, and David Forstock, and former council member Matt Pryor was on the committee when we originated, and we really deliberated about what is the best solution that we can come to and reach our goals and satisfy all of our problems effectively. So there are basically two solutions. One is more of an in-house solution, I would call. We would take the Comcast funds that we have, we would utilize those to upgrade all of this equipment here. We would utilize it to upgrade anything we needed to help with zooming in. We would be able to buy cameras. We would effectively be able to control all of our meetings in-house with an unlimited amount of meetings, and here, however we wish to control those. We would own the equipment, we would own the software, and the information would be stored here on servers here. So that is more in-house system, I would say, and we would be able to design it. Thank you again, Tom, for finding a solution that we would be able to design with minimal effort by staff. So all of these issues that we're having would beautifully disappear, and staff would be less frazzled running back and forth. I know Sandra would be happy about that. What that solution doesn't have is fancy transcripting, pretty much in line with the meeting. It also doesn't have an embedded search that you can search in a video for topics that are being spoken of, and it'll take you right to that point in the video. Those are with a different service that we're also looking at, that we've looked at, I would say. That one is a little more advanced, and what that one would require is using those Comcast funds for hardware implementation, although that hardware would be owned by the company providing their streaming services for us. So it's less hands-on, but it would be a cost above and beyond the equipment because we would be utilizing the service of a company to stream and to put these videos on different social media as well as the website. That would entail utilizing taxpayer dollars. We do have some in the general fund budgeted for that for this year. I believe it's about $20,000. When we spoke tonight, we realized it may be a little bit more than that, but it would be an ongoing cost. And the reason that I want to highlight this is because at the end of the meeting, our task force did recommend to council that we think that going with the more in-house system, I'll just call it that to keep it simple, would be the best way to meet the solutions for all of our issues here, reach our goals, and be the best fiscally responsible system moving forward as we kind of grow into this new method of succinctly streaming our meetings, and not just our meetings, but our committee meetings and our coffees with the city manager and the mayor. So that would be our recommendation to council. I just want to throw that out there and the reasons why, and I won't bore you with all the details of these things. But I'm sure we'll have a further discussion tonight with council on the direction that council feels is best now that they've heard from the committee, and we'll take it from there and hopefully have a solution installed within the next few months. And Mayor, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I was actually wanting to just get a sense on council. I mean, one of the purposes, and we've kind of been accelerating the meeting schedule, both with, as a council objective as well as the workshop, just so that we can kind of really get on a path, because I know it's been struggling, been languishing a bit trying to get data. And I really wanted to make sure we invested right and move on so we have this capability, because I stated before, as I thought our current system sucks. And it's had a lot of complaints and a lot of challenges. So I really want to get on with updating our system. And I guess what I'd be asking of council is just from a consensus, from what we've heard, to be able to give guidance to the committee, or make or even push to say how we want to go forward, I think is appropriate at this time. So.
Well, I for one, I feel like I like the Swaggit system a little bit better for a lot of different reasons. One of them is that they have their servers, stored elsewhere, so we don't have to manage the servers. And I've done a lot of server implementations in my life, and keeping them up to date, safe from being hacked, and not having it here on the property, but having it elsewhere or out in the cloud would be like the most up-to-date version of the software. The other thing I'd like to know is if we went with Swaggit, could we still use those funds from the Comcast to upgrade these mics and some of this other stuff here, so we could do that and use the Swaggit system? There's a lot of reasons why I feel like it would be better to do that. Since if we buy our own equipment and we're in-house, you're talking about maybe the price tag right now would be okay, but you still have a lot of staff involvement in that, where I feel like the Swaggit system would be less staff involvement. And I do like the searching, the automatic searching of the, it's a little bit easier with the transcription to search and to collect that data. And I just think that it'd be good to go out for a bid too, when you're talking about $58,000. I'd like to see us go out for a bid.
Sandra, a question I had, how many minutes and how many type things do you do in a year?
Well, last year we had 29 council meetings. So there's at least 29 there, but also the Economic Development Corporation, which we had about 6 meetings last year.
So you're somewhere 40 meetings at $300 a piece. For the transcription, there's another $12,000 is the way I look at it. Plus you'd still have your time, correct?
You still have to take the time to order it, to do this and that, and so there's still a lot of heavy staff involved in it.
Thank you.
So my question is, if we have meetings stored on the Swaggit servers, then we couldn't incorporate them into vMix, right? Correct, okay.
Yes, that's perfect.
So it takes away the ability to replay council meetings.
I'd have to get with them to see what the availability of the access to
So we'd basically be asking them for access to our own meetings.
Is that how League City works? Is, I mean, is that, when you click on their meetings?
Real quick, what was demonstrated to us during that meeting was that link took us to the Swagit website. That had a list of all those meetings that they had specific.
Correct. The
So-
Phoenix is channel 16.
Right,
Why should you just?
right, yeah, that's the different, yeah, that's the difference. Is that you would probably have to record it, then post it.
And do we have the licensing rights to our own meetings then?
Yeah, I mean, there are meetings.
So it's like, then we can, okay, just let me check.
And you keep, I would recommend not using the word swag it, because you don't know that's the system.
Fair.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
So just say commercial service.
commercial.
Because when we go out to bid, it's probably not gonna be swag, it's gonna be someone else. You're gonna go after the local.
The other option is like,
Well,
if we wanted to go on Phoenix to be on the channel, couldn't we just have like a live streaming camera on the video? Because we have a live streaming camera right now that looks out on the street there, that could be the live streaming that goes onto the channel. We can have just a camera recording that.
But that camera doesn't go onto Vmix, right? That's just for when you're not putting something in the queue.
No, you could just, you could just be filming.
I guess,
ready to come up there?
if you want, yeah, one walking up, I'll say what's on my mind. I like the flexibility of the in-house system. I think it gives us more options for the future. And it gives us more options to record, you know, we talked about 29 council meetings and 6 CBC, plus if you're talking 24, 2 times a month, coffee with the city manager and mayor meetings. Plus if the Parks Committee wants to have, if everyone wants to use this system, we make it so easy that it's just a touch of a button. I feel like the in-house system gives a lot more flexibility without tying this down to an annual contract with another company who essentially owns the cameras and we will buy the cameras.
We buy that hardware price. That hardware price was 36,000. We are buying.
But
So-
we'll get it without that.
Right, but it's a proprietary system, so we have to use their service to use that equipment. If we buy it in a year from now, we say, or they say, you know, whatever company it is, we're done. Then we're still stuck with the equipment we can't use because we're not using that service. So it's an investment in equipment. Then let's just like you talked about, you maintain a yearly 25 or whatever thousand, to keep using it. That's fine, but if you decide you went out, then you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
You don't know, we own it, but you can't use it.
So can I just, Luddite question, because, the way it was explained on our own equipment is you push a button and it starts and it goes. So is that truthfully?
That is the way it was explained to me when it's set on with the ISP. They write a code. It's a press code, it's simple, and that's the code. I'm not a press code programmer, I don't understand it. That would be put on this item. And the way he explained it to me, and obviously before I go sign on the dotted line, I want to see, right? There'll be code for a council meeting, code for workshop. That's what we use the two different games. To answer your question about streaming, yes, I could take a camera off of here and plug it into the VMix and manually go back to the computer and say, run this camera. So yes, that can be done too. But that means that's not won't tie to this at all. That's totally separate. That's going back here. There's a little room behind here. There's some equipment back there that streams all this. They have to sit on the computer, bring up the VMix software and say, okay, run this camera. And then when it was over, run back there and turn it off and come back to the old program. But yes, to answer your question, you could do that. Like you already know.
You know, one of the things that certainly interests me is, I mean, I get the hesitation with Swaggit because they have service. No, I'm just saying, we have it presented Swaggit, right?
Yes, that was the
What concerns me about that is they're basically doing the, you know, the razor handle, razor blade type thing. You get your equipment, you have to buy the certificate to make it run. And I guess what I'm wondering is, like, I do like the ability for all the indexing, all the way in which we can to transcribe it, so it makes it citizen friendly, to be able to get our minutes and get them real time. I would certainly like to know if there was somebody other than Swagger's commercial services that would not have the same razor blade handle, razor blade type business model that would give us our cake.
Sounds like we'll hold that out for a while there.
That's what I'm thinking is, I would support going out to bid just to see if we can do that. And
A lot of work,
if
but
it,
you can do it.
yeah, but if it doesn't pan out, that we can't break that business model, then I think it probably behooves us to stay in house.
Okay, so what I'm getting out of this right now is, I need to go create this document. We need to go out for bid for the whole system thing, right?
If I can real quick, I think that there should be some people that sit around that put together an RFQ for what it is. And I think that needs to happen because there are these components, if you will, or if you will, the a la carte you want to add to a service. And so I think it's important that those pieces are part of that RFQ.
Would you be okay with that, Ashley? Yeah.
Well, we just put together a team to do that.
So we have no task force, now we want to create a no task force?
No, I mean.
No, it's not,
That's why I was looking at
it's not that I'm saying, inside of doing this RFQ, it's actually putting together, instead of you writing it up, having to do that, it's being written up as a group and submitted for review. That all concerns are taken care of.
James, I would just suggest, to expedite the situation, perhaps Tom and the mayor and I could meet and we can go over this together, just to make sure that the representation of the task force and council.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to go back and forth that many iterative times, because at the end of the day, whatever comes back has got to come back to council anyway for a bid. So from that standpoint, I would urge in the to be expediting in this, that we go forward with kind of what Tom says. I'll be happy to participate. Ash, if you want to, but I mean, I would like to get on with this.
I think you're right to get on with it, and I really appreciate all the input. But I've heard a lot of council members speak far more articulately about this than I am capable of. And I certainly appreciate what Councilman Abbey has suggested. Could he be added to the group, at least to add
Sure, be the third person, yeah.
suggestions if he's willing?
I'm happy to do that.
Well, it shouldn't take as long.
It shouldn't take us a little bit. And I know, I mean, so the objective of the workshop and the objective for this item was to say, hey, what path we can go on, because I get on with it.
Yes.
I believe what I'm hearing is a consensus, I mean, Mike can see if there's a way we can break the business model of Swaggit, where we still have a lot of those services, and see what the other competitors are, have a bid process. And if that doesn't work, we'll go back to it, like, forgive me, I may be ABISL.
Yeah, whichever, whoever.
Yeah, there's one.
No, it's fine.
That's like an in-house approach. How's that sound?
So, doesn't matter to me, either way.
Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Right, okay,
Okay.
thank you, Tom.
Yep.
And the next is a update, discussion, and consideration of possible action on the implementation of a comprehensive code enforcement plan for the city. So that was kind of my agenda item, but I think we really want to talk about, kind of some of the status. Paul, you might want to go over a little bit, and Chief, I'd appreciate your input too.
We'll kind of tag team
Just to say where we are, what things are, because I certainly think we have a lot of code enforcement gaps that are in the city that we really need to up the resources.
I'll kind of kick this off, Mayor, thank you, and then you'll correct everything that I said as well. Counting on you, Chief. But essentially, we, back in September, we lost our building. And he was actually helping with code enforcement, along with Tony Russo. And so we've been kind of in limbo. We have not been able to find a building official. Those people are hot commodities right now, and if you look on the TML website, everybody's looking for building officials, so they're very hot right now. So we're still interviewing and talking to people that haven't found the best fit at this point in time. I met with the chief in probably November, maybe early December, late November, and Tony Russo to talk about different ways to increase our code enforcement, how we could do that, maybe with a combination of some of his guys, just understanding visually what they're looking for, along with maybe a person who could be more focused on it. So we had discussions around, you know, basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, training officers, his staff, so that when they're out patrolling and they see a code enforcement issue, that they can report that back and we can take action on it. So that's one of the things we talked about. Another thing we talked about was possibly getting intensive training for another police officer who could be kind of our code enforcement guru on the police department staff. And so we've got a gentleman that we're going to send to training, I think it's next week or week after.
Yeah, and who is this?
Perry. He's done some of this before.
So Perry, when we brought Perry over from, Pasadena, he was with the, fire marshal's office over there, so he's got some experience in code enforcement and, a little bit of fire marshal experience from over there. He's not code enforcement certified, so we found through the, TEEX, the Texas A&M Extension, Engineering Extension Service. There, that made Councilman happy. But their code enforcement program, and we were lucky enough to find that, they've got, at the end of the month, they've got that training occurring down in Galveston. So that helps us with our budgeting to get that done. So he's gonna be going off of that. When he gets back, we will be able to sit down and look a little bit more extensively at what has been covered in that training, what he's certified for, those type of things. I think it's in all, I don't mean to take away from you, but I think it's important to understand that Tony Russo is only a part-time position. Tony works anywhere between probably 18 to 22 hours a week, depending on his schedule up at Houston Fire Department. So we're looking to supplement Tony, not take away from Tony, some of the things that are going on, and we hope to do that with Perry when he gets back. Once he gets back and we know what the implementations are. Perry's already got some ideas of some things that he was involved in up in Pasadena that we just don't have time to do here, with code enforcement of some of our commercial businesses, things like that. So, and there's a possibility that some of that may be, some of that time and effort may be, accountable with, permit fees and things like that. So, there is a.
Just from my perspective, Chief, I mean, if you remember, we went through the budget cycle and every functional area touched on code enforcement, but nobody really owned it. And you know, at some point you got to elevate priority and say this is a priority in order to be a resource. And I think that's how we're.
I agree with you. The only caveat I would say to that is Perry is one of my patrol officers, which I have 12 to cover the entire week, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's gonna be an additional duty unless we look at other options. But that's a discussion we probably have to further down the road. So we have to look at the limitations of time constraints, being able to cover patrol, which is gonna be our first priority.
They also know that it also helps to have somebody with code enforcement on police, so that if you have vacant homes, if you have things where vagrants can get in and be a nuisance to property owners, that it can help in crime prevention.
No, absolutely. I'm totally agree with you. I'm just throwing out caveats that we do already have some limitations, personnel wise and manpower. So,
Correct. So one of the things we were looking at, Mayor, was to run a pilot program. Once Perry gets trained, and once we figure out what we can do, is run a pilot program where we see if that position could possibly pay for itself, or at least a big.
Yes.
So we can save.
Hire another patrol officer.
Yeah, exactly. So
That could be its primary duty. You have the law enforcement behind the code enforcement. Whereas if it's just somebody like a building inspector, there's not that need behind it. And I thought I heard that Officer Henderson was a deputy fire marshal or something at one time. So that would add to the, you know, the code enforcement stuff
Officer
that we
Henderson is
have.
also certified in crime prevention officer. If you remember the very first meeting we had for the budget workshop, discussed about doing more crime prevention programs. We have a hard time right now doing that in the community because we can't. It's unfair to the citizens of the community to schedule a program and then have that officer who's on patrol having to make calls. So, there's possibilities of dual, ideas there, but yeah, so we do have some plans. We are looking at those things. It's just, we do have to get it certified, and that will be done by the end of this month. And then we can sit down with him and look at what is available and what he has been trained in and what those things are covered, so.
And I'm a big supporter of actually having another tier of pay. If you've got somebody doing a combined thing where it's code enforcement and police.
We'll discuss that.
Because
We'll discuss that.
it really incentivizes people to be able to get that kind of dual certification. And usually it's a really economic, fiscally responsible way to get that capability. So I'd be very much in support of having something along that line.
Chief, I'm very, very excited about this first step. And what I think you already maybe have heard in a few of the comments already made, we are excited to support and help however this plan can work out. We are an aging residential community, and there's a big, huge need for code enforcement. And I would support anything fiscally that is responsible to get this done so that our community stays one of the premier districts in the city.
Sure.
And I think we all understand that it's gotta be somebody full-time doing this.
And just cautiously, I don't think that this training that Officer Henderson's gonna be going through is gonna be taking away from the building official with the structural elements and, electrical codes, plumbing codes.
Yeah.
So, it's.
But an officer makes a big, big difference. People respect a police
And
officer.
then a lot of times I remember in the past, I've said it over and over again, where there was, somebody said, oh, the code has to take care of this. And then they were telling the police officer has to take care of it. The police officer comes out and said the code has to take care of it, where they could just all be done right in that very first visit and get it taken care of.
I mean, having things where if you're driving down and see a trash bin from an apartment complex that is just horribly being maintained, having a police officer be able to really not only just go and say, hey, that's you actually have citation.
Yeah, we do have Corporal Linder, who's been handling code enforcement, to some extent. And he does follow the same protocol that, Tony Russo will follow if there's an event, a situation with a dumpster or something like that, where letters go out first of, a notice of a violation, giving them a certain period of time for, repairs or to bring it up to code. So we would be following the same structure that, Tony Russo has in place. So, yeah. So, but we're certainly looking at that. And I think we'll take a big step after the, end of the month, once we get, Perry through the training.
I do believe there would be more timely response if there was more of a police authority behind.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Corporal Linder sends out those letters now. When either he or one of the officers finds or sees what's a possible code violation, they'll send it over to Corporal Linder and he'll take care of it. He'll send out letters to the homeowners or the business owner or whatever the case may be. So we are already taking care of it.
Just to recap what you're thinking of a pilot program for Officer Henderson, if I heard you correctly, is to get him trained, get him up to speed, and then look at him in this role for a period of time, or is that what you're thinking, or help me understand more?
It's not, it's gonna be, it's gonna be part of his additional duties, so he'll still be assigned patrol. I can't take him off patrol, either, yeah. So I think once he gets back, and he's had the training, we're gonna sit down with myself and Paul and Tony and Perry, and we'll all sit down and we'll come up with some kind of game plan and some kind of, program to move forward with at a.
Criteria for success, I would say.
Right.
I know there's a balance there.
Yeah, we're not gonna jump in, both feet at once.
But I mean, yeah, I think this would be great. Any other comments?
Councilwoman Hoffman and I are both down here saying that we're open to having another patrol person, and we could just have Officer Henderson just concentrating on code enforcement.
I'm absolutely open to having another patrol person.
Just to set it up, we do have to advertise in the Compass Rose.
For another.
Yeah, we're advertising.
We want that, if the police department, we don't have anyone has to beat that way.
I will tell you that, just like every other, law enforcement agency, it's out there right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that, Paul, you have anything else?
That's a great start, though, just remember that.
That's all that it is. And then low in regards to support.
So absolutely.
That's it. I hope we're an attraction.
We'll certainly appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to join you. Yeah, sure, it'll work. Thank you. Anything else? Any other
Do
comments?
we need anything action right now? or anything?
I think we need a correction. I think you're good.
Okay.
I don't think I need a motion.
He knows what we're thinking, right?
Yes. Thank you. And then, new business, consider and take action to approve the purchase of a police interceptor to replace an existing vehicle.
Okay, I'm gonna take, both of these because Sheila's at an Open Gov, she's a panelist at Open Gov conference. She's actually complained so much about, Open Gov and have the problems we've had with it, that they've asked her with our little bitty town here of, 5,000 people to be on this huge, panelist. So that's where she is tonight. So I'm pinch hitting and I'll do as good a job as I can. If I don't get the answer for you here, I'll bring them back, this week. But the first one is consider to take action to approve the purchase of a police interceptor to replace an existing vehicle. So Chief has one of his vehicles, and he can explain more detail, that has been down quite a bit and cost us a lot of money over the last year at least, and maybe longer. And so what we did was we went out for proposals from three different organizations. And when you look at that, if you look at the sheet, the cover sheet, you can see the difference between the base one, which we're going to recommend, it has a cash deal, not a lease, because the interest rates are so high now. We've been $6,000 to $8,000 on interest payment. And then between that one and the top one is there's a 15% difference in those prices, and they're all on the buy board type of a situation where they've been pre-approved. But this just tells you that sometimes when you go out and ask for proposal for people on the buy board, you'll get even better pricing than was on the original. So I'll let the chief talk about this one.
So the unit that we're replacing is a 2017 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor. Just this past year in 2022, our on-schedule maintenance on that vehicle has been almost $4,700. That's on-scheduled maintenance for a number of different things.
Just this year alone.
In 2022,
In
January to December.
Full fiscal year.
From just in September, we've been almost $2,000 on that vehicle just to keep it up and running. It was it was off to the shop in on about November 15th. We got it back for a week, had similar problems, and back to the shop. We just got it back today. Went back to the shop on December 13th, and we just got it back today with an additional almost $200 of work on it. So it's just a bucket. To say anything else, but we've got to have, so we're looking, it's got almost 85,000 plus miles on it. And when I say 85,000 plus miles, understand that that's not engine time, because those units are running while they're out on traffic stops or they're out on accident scenes. You know, it's not just miles, it's the engine time. So we originally were looking at we sourced, or we got quotes in August for vehicles. From what we did last 2 years, we sourced our vehicles from one of the vendors, and then we had the vehicles outfitted with all of the equipment and everything ourselves after they arrived here. From August to November, the cost of that vehicle went up $5,000. In addition, when we talked to that vendor, the information, this is from the email we got from them. The cost went up. Ford has drastically reduced the amount of concessions, which has increased the price. This vendor currently had 336 orders in the order bank and they had information that that Ford was canceling orders because they had oversold. So just the one vendor, we didn't know, they didn't know how many, their 336 orders that were already in the bank were gonna be canceled. And so that's when we started looking at outsourcing from other vendors. You'll see on the, sheet there, Rockdale and Cat Fleet. Rockdale is the, vendor for the vehicle. Cat Fleet is the upfitter. You'll notice, there's a difference over there on Rockdale and Siddons. Cat Fleet had a price, difference of $5,000 on the, vehicle from Rockdale. And then the other upfitters did, so I called them to make sure we were getting the same vehicle and why they were $5,000 cheaper on their base price for their vehicle. And Cat Fleet told me that Rockdale is their parent company. So there you go. So that's why we're recommending to go with the Cat Fleet. It's the same upfitting that we had for the last 2 years that have been done over the last couple of years with Siddons Martin. We gave them the same spec sheet that we have in Siddons Martin. And this is what they came back to us on the prices, so it's just not quite $61,000. Down from almost from the 69, almost 70,000 on the top end, that was our original price for Rockdale and Siddons Martin. So.
Any other questions for the city manager or chief?
Yes, I do. Question on, that was for a 2017 Ford. This replacement vehicle was an Interceptor. Is it the same Ford?
Yeah.
As
And
the
Ford Explorer, Police Interceptor.
okay, that's a 2022, 2023. And how long is the wait needed? Is it anything like our ambulance?
That's the other advantage that we have. We've talked to Cat Fleet. Cat Fleet has this vehicle on a lot. They had one. I'm not sure how they got it, but they've already put our name on it. They're holding it. As soon as I call them tomorrow and let them know we got it approved, hopefully, they'll start ordering equipment. So they have the vehicle on the lot and they've already put our name on it. They're holding it for us.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Please, I was gonna ask.
I move that, we take action to approve the purchase of a police interceptor from Cat Fleet.
Yes, ma'am. But, yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Moved by Sandy, second by Michelle. Any other questions? Yeah, absolutely.
Is there an opportunity then to get a resale or trade or something of the 2017 one that we have, or what happens to that one? Is there any way to get money back?
It'll be decommissioned and then, we will, put it up for sale or Sheila's looking at, through the enterprise leasing program that we have. Those vehicles, try to sell them back, see if they're, look at whichever is better to let enterprise take them and resell them, or do we resell them ourselves? I can say there's not a whole lot of money in a second-hand police unit that's got 85,000 foot miles on it, but we'll get some of that.
That's true, yeah.
I wouldn't buy one, but.
We're not doing that too much.
Any other questions? Then any other questions? I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? It passes 6-0. You got your interceptor, chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next one.
I get the next one, yes.
I'm sure you do. If you're for.
I bet she was standing
The next one is receive an update of the city's year-to-date financial report.
So what I asked Sheila to do before she went to this conference was to go through and do kind of what I'm used to calling a major factor analysis. You know, what are the causes for some of the big differences, the swings in some of the numbers. And what we're looking at is our financial report for December and how it stacks up to prior year and the 5-year average. And so I'm gonna go through this quickly. There's a lot of information here, so I don't want us to get too bogged down. But property taxes, majority of property taxes received in December and January, year to date based on payment timing and not indicative of higher than projected revenue. In other words, some people will pay their taxes before the end of the year, before December, and others will wait and pay them later. So you can't really read anything into the property tax, whether they're higher or lower than they were in previous years. Item 2, which is fines, revenue driven by timing of activities, increased percentages are not considered a trend for overall higher than projected revenue for the year. One that is interest on investments. Everybody knows what the interest rates have been doing. So Sheila is managing our investments in such a way that we got higher interest earning, so we've already reached our 12-month actual $4,500, and we've reached it by December. So we've got some time left, but we're still gonna make earnings on that. So those are due to higher interest rates. When you go down to the expenditure in general fund, emergency management, there's a generator maintenance occurring earlier than in the year than what is usual, so that's not unusual, it's just happening a little earlier in the year. Item 5, police department budgeted election poll policies and new radars for units purchased earlier in the year. Higher than usual vehicle maintenance as well, as the chief just went through, that we've seen on some of his vehicles. Item 7, information services would be IT contracts renew early in the fiscal year, so it's not necessarily we're paying more, it's just we're renewing early, and you'll see that number kind of even out throughout the year for that. General fund expenditures are about the same. If you look, it's 23% for this year versus a 5-year average of about 22%. So really, we're on track with our expenditures. Water sales, new water rates are not in effect yet. So what you're going to see is this number is off right now, but you're going to see that number go up in January and then the preceding months after that. And then item 10, other charges is for bond proceeds in previous years. Skew that number when you look at the 5-year average versus what's received this year. Then item 11, the sewer department, capital spending on the sand filter and sewer transmission lines impacted year-to-date percentages on those. Under the next page, page 25, there's a couple items here. Under debt service fund, timing and debt service payments impact year-to-date percentages. So we may pay a payment in the month of December, and then not have another payment for another 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, or maybe even for the next year. So those are just timing related. And then the total revenue and equity within the tourism fund, there's been more spending on special events earlier in the year, this year, than there has been in the past for the tourism fund. And then the home elevation special revenues fund is home elevation grant expenditures. Those are depending on when we make those payments for home elevation. We go to the page 26 at the bottom, item 15, the total Nassau Bay budget for this report is overall combined city position is in line with the budget year. So you'll see it's 18% versus 17%. So there's nothing really out of line with what we've been seeing in the past. And then I asked Sheila to put together kind of a end-year reserves. And you'll see that at the bottom where it's showing the end-year reserve budget and then what the remaining balances are. So 16 really explains it. That's a lot of detail. But end-of-year reserves include November budget amendment, but not the January budget amendment we just approved. General fund end-of-year reserves allows for approximately $327,000 in additional allocations before the 90-day minimum threshold is reached. So there's still
That's our war chest.
that war chest is there. It's so it's still available, and we've been spending that judiciously. Then there's investment portfolio information. I don't know if I'll go through all those. You can read them, but Sheila did a lot of work along with Hyman and putting together just more explanations of what our financial picture looks like. I guess the bottom line is, to me, is that we seem to be in line with where we've been in the past. So I think we're in good shape. We've got the war chest that has substantial funds left to do things.
Plus the 90-day reserve.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'll entertain any questions that I can answer, and if I can, I'll certainly get back to you on.
My intent here was to make sure people understood where we were in the discretionary funds in case there were items that come up of the council. We still have quite a nice war chest. So
Good job.
appreciate that. Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment there. I'm gonna pass on a huge thank you to Sheila. I know she couldn't be here tonight, but this is a lot of work, and she continues to impress, I think, all of us, getting awards for us and making sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and we're in good shape financially. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate her making sure that our investments.
Thank you. I'll pass that one.
Then, the next goes, sorry, is that, no, I don't, it's just an update, just an update. So from that standpoint, we move into the first reading of ordinances. Sandra, I think you probably have the definition for this, and if you'd like to.
Consider and take action on an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023 budget, first and only reading.
That's the budget amendments that you see here on this page 36 of 119. For the police interceptor, we just, that bill just approved. There's a fire department awning. But actually, the proposals are coming in a little higher than what we anticipated. So we're putting in another 5,500 for that. The Moon Street budget is a $20,000 line item that we're so excited about coming up in the next month. And I know we're gonna do some great things with those funds. And then the Space Center Houston agreement, which we talked about last time, this would be the budget amendment for the additional $25,000 for that.
Just point of clarity on the last one there, Paul, on the Space Center Houston agreement, that's not an additional 25,000. That is an increase from the 20,000, correct?
That's from the
75.
75,000 in the prior year, 100,000.
I have a question regarding that agreement as well, and I mentioned it last time. What do we know is the contribution, which I feel is very important, from the two hotels?
Yes, correctly.
And we're getting a lot of good things from this, and I support it wholeheartedly. But I certainly want to make sure the two hotels who are getting a lot out of it are supporting it financially.
Yes,
as well.
the Marriott has already given, I think they've already given us a check for $5,000, which was what they did last time.
Right.
And we've had a changeover in management.
I know.
And so we still need to talk to the Hilton, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't expect them to.
I think ours was, and maybe Ashley, you remember too from the, our task force committee, 15,000,
That's correct.
I thought, from the Hilton.
I thought it was 10 from the bill,
10.
5 from the airline, a total of 15.
That's quick. It's 10.
The total of 15.
Right, that's my understanding too.
Well, I hope they come through with the same.
I think they will. We just haven't had a chance to sit down with them and talk about their.
And just so here is, in all the items that we had identified that we wanted to increase in the agreement were very well received. They want to have quarterly meetings with city council and be able to discuss what is going on for them and a priority for their management, as well as what we're doing and the things along that line. They have agreed to provide VIP access for council. They didn't want to do a membership because they have to have a name associated with that. And one of the things that they committed to was just to be able to provide blanket VIPs that to us so that we could have that rather than 7 full membership, but Tommy was very accommodating to say that we would give first rights for all the VIP aspects there. And what I mean that is, it's like things for the citizens. There were aspects of, like with the Artemis launch, where they had facilities that had developers, that had business officials that were officers, so there could have been that networking session for us. And from that standpoint, with a lot of the economic development activity that we want to do, we really want to have access to those developers, access to the plans, and let them know what we're doing as part of a partnership. The only piece that they said they can't do, because it's forbidden as part of their bylaws, is that they do not do any loaner equipment whatsoever, loaner items like a Russian cosmonaut suit or whatever. They said NASA does that, but they have it part of their bylaws that what they have there stays there. They don't allow that for anybody. So, but we got everything else. So I'm prepared to and Paul and I are ready to probably sign that agreement. So.
That's a great job on that.
Okay.
Right, so this is just the budget amendment, so
So I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023 budget on the first and only reading. Based on the items listed here, the police interceptor, the fire department awning, the Moon Tree event, and the Space Center Houston area.
Need those itemized, Sandra, from a.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yeah, moved by Michelle, second by Sandy. Any other comments or questions?
I'd just like to see the hotel, since it's got like 25,000, I'd like to see the hotel contribute a bit more.
Yeah. Right. All right, then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 6-0. And the next item, which is the consider and take action on an ordinance calling for May 6, 2023 city general election for the purpose of electing 3 council members for positions 1, 3, and 5. Looks like we're gonna have an election.
So Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance that comes before council every January, the first reading to call our May 6th election. And within the ordinance, it does stipulate that we will do a joint election with Harris County. The first day to file is, City Manager McLeod mentioned earlier, is Wednesday, January 18th at 8, and the last day being February 17th at 5 p.m.
Any questions? This is just the first of 2 readings, so there's no action that needs to be taken. Unless people want something modified. I'm sorry, pardon. I don't believe you need a vote. I don't believe you need a motion here, do you, Sandra?
I'll go ahead and entertain one if you don't mind.
So could I entertain a motion for Sandra?
I motion to take action, gonna be in executive, okay, where are we at?
Calling for the.
Calling for the, well, thank you, somebody. There we go. Consider take action, I call for a motion to, approve an ordinance calling for the May 6th, 2023 city general election for the purpose of electing 3 council members for the positions of 1, 3, and 5.
In conjunction with Harris County.
Oh, in conjunction with Harris County's, election.
Yep.
Or
Do I hear a second? Second by Ashley. Wait, aren't you position 3?
Yeah, I'll second
I'm
it.
kidding, I'm kidding. All those, so it's moved by Jane, second by Ashley. All those in favor? Passes 6-0.
I mean, I don't believe we don't have to.
Then after that, we're now going to move into executive session. So it is the executive session is authorized by Texas Community Code, Chapter 551, open meeting, subchapter D, exception to requirement that meetings be open, particularly the 551.074 personnel duty to discuss the employment evaluation and compensation goals due to the city manager. 551.074 personnel discussion of membership of City of Nassau Bay Planning Commission. 551.074 personnel discussion membership of the Special Events Committee. 551.074 personnel discussion of the appointment of a regular member of the Board of Adjustment, and 551.074 personnel discussion on the resignation of nomination and election of a mayor pro tem. And it is 9:10.
Very nice to meet you.
Very good. Nice to meet you. Appreciate you coming out tonight.
I can comply. Very. Thank you.